So again, I'm Andrew King, Editor-in-Chief of Canadian Musician. This is Understand Your Power and Find Your Best Voice. Joining us, and we're thrilled to have her, Teresa Cirillo, Canada's foremost vocal coach. She is the author, as we've said, of The Vocal Compass, the owner of Studio E Music and Arts in Hamilton, Ontario. As I've just learned in talking to Teresa, currently wrapping up this 6th season of The Shot, which is a really cool initiative to take place in the Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario area. Well, I'd love to tell you all about it. I guess you can throw it into Google there. And here's a little bit about Teresa's credentials as well. I really enjoy doing these, and I'm very much looking forward to interacting with Teresa, who I had the chance to meet at Canadian Music Week this year. Her attention was very much in demand. Enough of me, though. Teresa, thrilled to have you join us. Fill us in. What's keeping you busy of late?
Hi, Andrew, and hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Andrew. It's been quite a year. We started out at I started out doing a ton of panels at the beginning of the year, and then into the summer, I launched the book. June 1st was the book launch, and then just started into The Shot in September. I just received an award for 40 Under 40 Business Excellence in the area just last Wednesday, and I'm just ready to get started on a book tour through the Indigo stores in the radius of my area here. So quite exciting.
Yeah, phenomenal. Oh, I guess we can maybe consider this kind of a soft launch of the book tour then. Really
yeah, there you go.
Oh, brilliant. So here we've got ahead of us the Vocal Compass, and well, there you go, the physical embodiment of the vocal compass. Now you'll see here, and as the book lays out very clearly, as Teresa will in a moment, but resonance is north on the vocal compass, breath south, the middle, the focal point is pitch, and traveling from east to west, we've got vowel articulation, or sorry, articulation in general, from vowel to consonant. Yeah, Teresa, I guess we can kind of go around the world clockwise here, but can you fill us in on, just give us a bit of an idea of these different topics and how they fit into this compass concept that you've devised?
For sure. The way I like to present it, usually in a session when I'm teaching a vocalist, is I usually present it in 4 components, and we usually start with breath. Breath is always the most important. And because we're grounding our voices as we're singing. So when we start to sing, what we do first is breathe in. So if you're when you're looking at the slide here, you see the compass as we would write it. What you want to envision is when you're south, that's the arrows pointing toward your diaphragm. If everybody knows where the diaphragm is, just 2 fingers below your sternum. And so the breath basically involves inhaling, engaging the muscles, the intercostal muscles around the diaphragm, to hold the diaphragm and contract it so that as little air as possible can go through the vocal cords. So that's component number 1. Component number 2 is pitch, the focal point. Really super important to understand that the vocal cords are horizontal, and there's muscle and tissue around the vocal cords that pull and release it. So if you were to put your 2 pointer fingers out and put an elastic around them, you can stretch the elastic, just for visuals, you can stretch the elastic and shrink it. When it shrinks, the vocal cords vibrate at a very slow rate, creating low frequency, creating low pitch or a low sound. When you're stretching the elastic vibrates, or your vocal cords will vibrate at a very fast pace, creating higher frequency, in turn creating a high sound. So what has to actually happen around the vocal cords is that everything should be at rest so that all the muscles and all the tissues are working at its optimal, and nothing is holding anything to oppose any movement in the vocal cords. So pitch is really just the vocal cords vibrating. The vocal cords only vibrate to create sound. So that's number 2 is pitch. Number 3, I like to go into resonance. So we're going from south to north. Resonance is creating space. We already have space in our face in our body cavity. And what we do is that's where we sound requires space in order to resonate. So when you have all the space that you need to create the sound and where you want it to sound, and lifting away from the vocal cords, you've got that resonance. Resonance is the ringing of sound in space that's given. So what we want ideally is to pull up on the sound, hence the north, while we engage south onto the diaphragm, leaving the vocal cords in the middle to be free. So that's component number 3 is resonance. Component number 4 is articulation. So the east and west is one component in all in one. And the way I like to separate it, which is perfect, Andrew, here, you have the vowel articulation, which is west. So the vowel articulation is actually at the back of your mouth between your soft palate, which is the roof of your mouth at the end, and then the back of your tongue. Not quite the root of your tongue into the throat, but right at the back. And what we want is we want a separation between the velum, which is the soft palate, and the tongue, to create some space there so that a vowel articulation or pure vowel sounds can happen. And the reason we want that, and we can actually even envision, looking at this compass here, we can envision the shape happening where the pitch is, where the little blue circle is, so that the vertical connection is there. So the vowels sitting further back allow the consonants to happen with your teeth, lips, and tongue at the front, creating the opposite reaction, just as we have the breath and the resonant opposite reaction. So we know Newton's law says that every action has an opposite reaction. So when we have the breath and the resonance opposing, then we have the articulation of the vowels and the consonants opposing, you have an even balance of the vocal mechanism. So there's number 4. So you've got number 1, breath, number 2, pitch, number 3, resonance, and number 4, articulation.
Beautiful. Now, yeah, and this is a great foundation to walk us through where we're going here. And I guess as a quick map, next we're going to just walk through a number 10, I suppose, nice round 10, various issues that you may be encountering that you want to overcome with your singing. And within the context of what we just spoke about with the vocal compass, Teresa is going to outline some potential causes of some of these issues, and then some ideas means that you may be able to effectively get around them or overcome them. After that, we'll go to a break, and then in the second half, we're going to talk a bit more about how health, like the body as a whole, as well as your mental state and thought, how that's going to weigh into your performance as a singer, whether you're in the studio, on the stage, or just warming up in your bedroom. So with that, and I guess because we've got 10 of them, rounding it off, if we can maybe try to tackle these in about a minute apiece.
Sure.
Anyone with questions about anything, fire away. We've got a couple starting to trickle in now. Feel free to submit at any point. But yeah, Teresa, very, very grateful that you're here for this, because a few of these are issues that I myself have encountered before.
Great.
With open mic night. So why don't we get started here? Off key.
Okay, so I want to just start out by saying to all of you that any issues that you're having, the vocal compass is all about direction. And the reason it's all about direction is the foundation of it is balance. Balancing the body is super, super important. So what you're going to find when I'm troubleshooting these issues that we see here on the screen is that usually it's just the opposite that we're doing. So anywhere the direction is heading, so for instance, singing off key. Singing off key is interesting because, as I told you, in the components, the vocal cords create pitch. And singing off key means that you're singing out of pitch or not the correct frequency. So there are a lot of reasons for this. One of the reasons is just your hearing. Maybe you're not hearing the frequency that you're supposed to replicate. But the majority of the reason you're singing off key is tension. Tension is one of the biggest reasons for singing off key. And what happens is, because, as I mentioned, when the vocal cords need to vibrate at a certain frequency, and the muscles and tissues around it that are creating the vocal cords to stretch and release, those muscles become tightened because there's tension. What is tension? Tension is when you're tightening a part of your body and it's not allowing the vocal cords or the vocal mechanism to be working properly. For instance, your tongue, it could be your chest, it could be your jaw, your facial muscles, your lips, anything around the head and neck that's tight needs to be released. The tongue is a big one. So if you can work towards releasing tension, you may be able to find that you're going to be correcting your pitch a lot faster. Ear training is huge for singing off key. If you're really, really off, and people say that they think maybe that you're tone deaf, it's quite a possibility. The way the body works is that you hear a sound, the brain creates a message to the vocal cords, and the vocal cords will stretch or release, and your sound will come out of your mouth, and your ear will confirm it. It's cyclical. And if that's not working, we can train it. Any vocal coach can train the vocal cords to create the same frequency. Music and sound is vibration, and we can feel too. We have 6 senses. Or do we have 5 senses? Is it 5 senses? I have 6. That's the intuitive part, the spidey sense. We have senses, and we can feel vibration. So even if you can't hear them, you could possibly feel them. And that, I mean, we've seen that on videos online of deaf people being able to sing, and it's astounding. So that is singing off key. So number 1 is usually tension, and if your ear training's off, then you can help it with that. Being able to use the vocal compass creates a release of tension because you're balancing the body. So you're going to want to shoot for all of those 4 directions: the north, south, east, and west. So let's go to nasal sound. Nasal sound is really, really great because it could be very character. You may want a nasal sound. I'm not sure. You could be singing Broadway. A lot of Broadway musical theater singers want to be able to sing in that pharyngeal space, or that nasal sound, or the mask, however you want to call it. And the nasal sound is created by the energy or the muscles that just manipulating the sound forward into your nose. So you're clearly going, I think you had it as east in your direction. So going forward, is it east? Yeah. Yep, so it's east. So in order for you to remove the nasal sound, first of all, you should be vertically connected with the diaphragm and resonance, and then you're going to go towards the west, pulling the sound back. Usually working on the vowels will alleviate any unwanted nasal sounds. Running out of air is quite simple. It's diaphragmic. It's the way you're breathing. A lot of singers, a lot of individuals, human beings, breathe with their chest. It's called shallow breathing. And if you breathe in and out right now, you can distinguish whether you're a shallow breather or not. If you're breathing in and your ribs are expanding and your diaphragm is being pushed out from the 2 fingers underneath your sternum, that very well means that you're a deep breather and you're breathing well. If you're shallow breathing, your chest and your shoulders will raise when you inhale. So in order to stop from running out of air, you need to train the diaphragm to work. And training the diaphragm is not actually training the diaphragm, it's training the muscles around the diaphragm to hold the diaphragm. The diaphragm, let's just really quickly try this. Hopefully this all works with everyone. If you put 2 fingers just underneath your sternum and you breathe in, your fingers should be being pushed out by the diaphragm or by the muscles around the diaphragm. So everybody try that. Breathe in. And you can feel that, and you just hold your breath, just as if you were to jump into a pool of water, or a pool, an ocean, a lake, whatever you want to jump in. When you hold your breath, that's the diaphragm connecting and creating a suction of air into the lungs. So breathing in and holding the breath is essentially a connection of the diaphragm. So when we're breathing in and connecting the diaphragm, what we want to do is we want to hold that while we're singing. Essentially just allowing as little air as possible to go through the vocal cords to vibrate them. And that is how you'll avoid running out of air. You'll get really, really good at training yourself on how much air you need for what you're singing. If you're singing a powerful ballad, you'll need to engage more, meaning that you'll need to feel like you're holding your breath more, using those muscles around the diaphragm. And if you're just singing something softly, maybe you'll want a little bit more air, but yet you can still control the amount of air that you'll have, being able to elongate the time of your notes and that sort of thing. So that's running out of air. Voice cracking on high and low notes. This is really cool. The probable causes, usually cold cords. So if you're not warmed up and you're ready to go in and do a triathlon, you're not going to succeed. It's a very high chance that you're going to not succeed. So when you're cracking, that very well means that you could not be warmed up. So be sure to warm up your voice high and low. It's the muscles around the voice, your face, your neck, your body. Make sure that you're stretching. Be sure that you're allowing all the muscles around your chest and your neck to not be tense. Do some neck stretches and some shoulder rolls, maybe even some opening of the chest, and warm up the vocal cords. To fix the probable cause, you want to warm up the cords. So just exactly as I mentioned to you, and also just using the release of tension by using the diaphragm, the resonance, and then the articulation going back and front on the horizontal line as well. So that'll really help. The low notes, this is really interesting that you have voice cracking and high and low notes, because really super important. Remember I said that every action has an opposite reaction. When you are singing high notes, so if you're going in the north direction, you need to give extra attention to the south direction, meaning that you have to engage more into the diaphragm. When you're singing low notes, you're going to give the opposite reaction, which is north, more attention. So you're going to lift on that resonance, and that'll really alleviate the voice cracking because you're alleviating pressure from the cords. And then voice breaking. Voice breaking is everybody. Well, I find that a lot of people are not good at going from their chest voice to their head voice, and that's because there's a break in passaggio. And what that means is that we have that vertical connection, and in order to pass a certain note, for females, it's generally around between the A and the D. For males, it's usually between the D and the F. So if you're having a hard time singing from chest voice to head voice or falsetto, what you want to do is you want to work that out. So you're going to condition, and the way to condition is usually to get all the tension out. Tension out, being in balance from north and south and east and west, usually alleviates it within 10 minutes. And then just conditioning it, using it every day will help that. But there are a few really cool tidbits on how to condition and release tension. If you're able to do lip trills, then that means your face has no tension in it. If you are not able to do lip trill, so lip trill would be a, if you are unable to do that, that tells me that the muscles in your face are really tight, and you have 3 sets of large muscles in your face. You have the zygomatic muscle, which runs from the top of your cheekbone to the outer corner of your lips. It's essentially the smiling muscle. So if you're smiling, you can kind of feel that muscle. You have the masseter muscle that opens and closes your mouth, which is the mastication muscle. And you have the buccinator muscle, which is the circle around your lips. And those muscles have to be released when you're singing, because it will create tension to the vocal cords, and the vocal cords will not vibrate correctly, or you'll go off pitch, as we mentioned earlier. So in order to do that, you can actually massage them as you're doing lip trills. So if you guys are having problems doing lip trills, you can try it right now. Massage your face while you're doing the lip trills up and down. It's usually that or the tongue. And when you're releasing tension from the tongue, all you really have to do is stick your tongue out all the way and sing your song with your tongue all the way out. If you notice that your tongue kind of slithers back into your mouth as you're singing, that is a really, really great indication that you have tongue tension. Another thing you can do is put your thumb right underneath your chin, and you can swallow, and you'll feel the tongue popping out. Everybody feel that? What you'll need to do is you'll need to sing your song, and if the tongue pops out from underneath into the bottom of the well, you know, where we all have double chins. If you feel that, that means that you're using your tongue to create some sort of use in the vocal mechanism, and you want to alleviate that. When you're doing that, again, every action has an opposite reaction. So your tongue is going down, you need to go up on resonance, and doing that. So there's the 5. Hopefully I've answered all of those. How did I do for time there, Andrew? Is it good?
Oh, absolutely. I would jump in if not.
Great.
And yeah, we're going to do 5 more and then
Okay.
take some of these questions. Although there's one I guess I might as well put in front of you now before we switch.
Sure.
Basic idea, and feel free to, you know, direct someone elsewhere if it's a wide net to cast. But you were talking about training the muscles around the diaphragm to help on running out of air and being able to control how much air is passing through as you sing. Any tips on how to go about that?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. So I'm not sure who it was that asked that question, but whoever did ask that question, I want you to do something for me. I want you to place your hands, shoot them up to the sky as if you were trying to catch a volleyball over top of your head. Now what I want you to do is squeeze your arms towards your ears, and I want you to breathe in. You'll feel your ribs expand. If you don't, try it again. All right. So now that you've done that, what I want you to do is I want you to kind of pant. So like it's like a like that. Eventually you'll get to a point where you can inhale and exhale and engage the diaphragm. That will work out the muscles around the diaphragm. That'll allow the muscles to be conditioned to engage. Now, I know all of you, the human body is a full defense mechanism. We all have reflex. And when you jump into a pool of water, your body will defend itself and not breathe. It's the same reaction when you're singing. When you're singing and you condition your diaphragm to engage, once you start to get it to engage, it'll happen all the time, so you won't have to think about it. I don't think about it when I sing. A lot of my students don't think about it when they sing. It just happens. Now, the reason it happens is, and I know a lot of you probably have vocal lessons, a lot of the consonants that we use, you think about the breath and the freedom of air going in and out of the mouth into the lungs. We can use an O. So if you sing an O, ooh, that's a free amount of air going in and out. As soon as I create an obstacle from my breathing passage, so either like a Z or an F, so if I go Z, Z, as soon as you say the Z, a hard Z, you'll feel the diaphragm engage. So it's actually the body's way of defending itself. As soon as you put an obstacle in front of the airflow, the body thinks it can't breathe. It's really cool. Our bodies are really, really cool and interesting things. I'm actually addicted to the way the human body works. And being really self-aware of your own body is super important as well. So hopefully that answers the question of how to train the muscles around the diaphragm to work.
Great first start. I was trying it myself. I keep having to remind myself that my mic's on too, so I'm not following. I'll have to go back.
We didn't hear you. I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you.
I'm stopping myself in time.
Andrew, it sounds like you need a vocal lesson.
Oh, wait, I know you're busy after this. I'll have to catch it another time. Steal another hour.
For sure. Sounds
Okay,
good.
yeah, let's keep waking our way through here. And again, fire off questions. We've got a lot, although I see at least one of them is going to be answered in this next section here. So why
Oh,
don't we pick up
amazing.
right where we left off? Yeah, voice is getting tired when you sing.
Okay, this one's super, super simple. If your voice is getting tired when you sing, you have tension, a lot of tension. Imagine you trying to pick up a bottle of water and somebody holding your arm back. You're not going to be able to pick up that bottle of water. It's the same thing when you're singing. If a muscle is tightened that should not be tightened by either the tongue or the chest or the shoulders or the face, your vocal cords are not going to work properly. In turn, the body knows how to manipulate and actually get the job done. And that means that you're going to tire out your voice. Now, my voice sounds really tired today because I am unwell and I've got some sort of cold going on. I'm actually flirting with a cold. I've stopped it in its tracks and hopefully it goes away. But if your voice is getting tired, you have tension. Another reason could be a lack of hydration. Super important to drink water, herbal decaffeinated teas. Generally, I would recommend warm, lukewarm, or even room temperature is fine. So it could just be that, maybe you've worked on releasing all that tension and you're still getting tired. Really look at whether you're hydrated or not. Overuse is super common as well, especially for those of you that are touring or playing 4 to 5 shows a week, or even doing like a 4-hour show a night. You think about it, you have 3 45-minute sets. That's a lot of singing. Be kind to yourself and rest. Do not go into a rehearsal the next day. Give yourself the time to rest. Don't and be careful with yelling. If you're going to concerts or anything like that, you could be getting tired by just overusing it as well. Hope that answers that question. Now, trouble hitting high notes and low notes. Again, that's kind of like the other, or actually kind of exactly like the voice cracking on the high and low notes. Exactly the same. It's tension. If you're not able to hit the higher low notes, especially if they're in your register and you know that you're capable of doing it. And how do you know that? I know you all sing in your bathrooms when nobody's watching and you're fine. You can hit those notes, absolutely no problem. All of a sudden you get put in front of an audience, your sympathetic nervous system goes off, and that's it. No more hitting high notes or low notes. It's tension. It's your body trying to defend itself. So you want to hit high notes, low notes, anytime you want. Remember that the high notes, you need that diaphragmatic engagement and support. Those low notes, you need the higher resonance. So as long as you're doing that and you have no tension, you are on your way. When your voice is too airy, super interesting. As I mentioned, the diaphragm connects, contracts, and is connected. It decreases the amount of air going through the vocal cords. When you contract your diaphragm, you can actually control the amount of air going through the vocal cords to create the extra sound. So although you are contracting, if your body wants like a softer sound, like hey, something like that, your body will know to contract just enough to get to that sound. So you're not over using too much air, but again, it's diaphragmatic. It's south, baby. When your voice is raspy, okay, this is really, really interesting. I don't know if you guys know this, but I have 3 kids, and my youngest of my 3 kids, when she started talking, she had a really raspy voice, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Kiara has a raspy voice," and I'm like, "No, it's not cute. She doesn't have a raspy voice. She has nodes on her vocal cords." I'm gonna excuse myself. I'm gonna start coughing in a second.
I should have had some music queued up in case.
I'm back. It's all good. I just get that tickle sometimes. Sorry about that. And I'm doing a lot of talking, right? So anyway.
Which we appreciate immensely.
Oh yeah, no problem at all. All right. So Kiara cried a lot when she was young. She had a really bad case of separation anxiety from her mother, that's me, and she would cry all the time, and that created some callus on her vocal cords. That created a bumpy vocal cord that creates air, and that's what creates a raspy voice. So when your voice, for instance, mine right now, this is actually a great example. So I have a cold in my throat, and what happens is just I feel congested and everything becomes a little swollen because there's an infection there. And if I sing, it sounds raspy because it's uneven. You think about, you guys ever use those scissors that have like the uneven edges? They kind of look like that, like really kind of bumpy, and then extra air flows through them. So if the voice is too raspy, what I recommend ultimately is that you go to an ENT or you go to your family doctor and you say, I'd love a referral to my to an ear, nose, and throat doctor so that I can get my raspy voice checked. A raspy voice can ultimately lead to a lot of laryngitis, and possibly even have like some surgery to remove a polyp or a node from the vocal cords. Sometimes you can be raspy by using the false folds that sit on top of the vocal cords. That's pretty healthy, but you would know the difference. You would be raspy when you sing only and not when you speak. So, so anything that's too raspy, you're probably going to want to get some medical attention for first. If they say that everything's okay, then going through the vocal compass and going to a coach and alleviating any tension will help. So going to frequent voice loss. Frequent voice loss is usually, again, the same as the raspy. If something's going on with your vocal cords, or if you just have a ton of tension, you're overusing the cords. So what you're going to want to do is to balance the vocal mechanism out so that there's not too much tension when you're singing. And that'll create a balance, and that'll create a healthy voice. So there it is, all 10.
Outstanding. Well, here, that leads us beautifully into some questions. Yeah, first, regarding high and low notes, Lori says, sorry, I just want to emphasize.
Regarding high and low notes.
Yeah, regarding high and low notes, I find it much easier to extend my range going up than going down. Is it essentially the same process, or are there any tips that you have for people that are trying to push downward, go lower, which actually, now that I think about it, something I've never even really tried before.
Yeah, this is a cool one, actually. So you think about it when you're singing and you're singing a low note, you think of going down, right? So you want to sing, like, everybody wants to sing like Beyonce and sing like, remember those walls are built kind of strongly down. And we always like try to sing down. A really cool tidbit to remember when you're singing really low and really high notes is that the vocal cords are horizontal. So singing low doesn't mean to sing low, to go down. You have to shrink the cords. When you shrink the cords, there's going to be a lot more air going through them. So when singing low notes, we want to resonate high and engage the diaphragm a little further down. Some people have a lot of trouble hitting higher notes, and some people have a lot of trouble hitting lower notes. It just all depends on what your body makeup is. But honestly, if you're trying to sing a little lower, lift into resonance. Think of going up. So when you're singing, baby, they're stumbling down, think of up instead of down. And then remember that the vocal cords are horizontal, so you're not reaching or dropping to hit the notes. You're actually supporting and allowing the vocal mechanism to shrink and release. Even thinking linear, like if you were to shoot a line out of your mouth that way, or even towards the back, like West. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it's food for thought for me and for Lori. Davis wonders, and I know this could probably be a whole session itself, but exercises that you suggest for a proper vocal warm-up, and on the back of that, how long should one warm up before a performance?
Great question. Did you say it was Davis?
Davis, yes.
Davis, okay. So my favorite exercises are lip trills. Lip trills, you can really balance your voice on a lip trill. So for instance, if I were to do a lip trill and I would just do, you know, like it's a 5-note major scale, so a you were to do that, you would feel, or let's separate it a bit. Let's do a triad. So you would be able to feel whether I was connected. I was not connected in that one. So my next step would be to connect. So think of the 4 points. Inhale and connect the diaphragm, so contract. Now my diaphragm is connected. But my resonance is a little in the middle of my face. We want to lift the resonance towards the north. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to engage the diaphragm south first, lift into resonance. Feel that sound going up. You can actually feel the sound and the support separate. So then what you're going to do is you're going to think about your sound, the actual sound that you're making, and where is it on the horizontal line. So if I were to do, I wouldn't be able to get the resonance. So I'll know that my sound is a little too forward. So if you can kind of shove the sound a little further back to where the vowels are supposed to be, engage first, resonance next, and then the sound. Once you get all of that aligned, then it's free for all. You can sing your songs in lip trills. Tongue trills are pretty awesome too, especially if you have tongue issues and tongue tension. So sounds a bit different, but those are really cool. My next favorite thing to do is, this is really cool. If everybody can say the word hung, that NG sound at the end, NG, it's a closed sound. What I do is I create that sound, and then I use the letter, well, I say wow, W-O-W. Of course, you're connected diaphragmically in resonance, and you're doing that, and that'll really stretch your facial muscles and allow the resonance to pop up and be in vertical and horizontal alignment. I do have a really, really favorite exercise. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'm going to try it. If you stick your tongue all the way out, now what you're going to do is stick the tongue behind the lower lip. That particular exercise release tongue tension and allow the resonance to happen because your diaphragm is already connected and contracted. So if you can create freedom from your muscles, any type of freedom when you're doing your exercises to warm up, that's essentially what you want. Singing the song several times, a few times, 2 or 3 times, should be fine. It'll warm up all of the vocal mechanisms as long as you have no tension and you feel relaxed. Don't forget to work your body. I'm a yoga instructor. I do yoga for singers all the time, and really stretching the shoulders up and then the neck, allowing the body to be agile is super, super important. And I would say, Davis, the time spent to warm up, I would probably warm up about 10 to 15 minutes before a set. And then once I start singing, you want to think about this. Your last song should always be your best song. So you're actually warming up as you're singing. We're conditioning, right? As long as you're doing it correctly, the last song should be your best. So there it is.
Beautiful. John, Craig, 2 great questions that we'll keep in the queue for our next round. We want to, oh yeah, I see. A little short on time. Teresa's agreed to stick around for a bit if we bleed past the hour, which is great, but we value everybody's time. So, yeah, understanding vocal health. I mentioned now we're going to kind of tie together body health, what that means, or how vocal health fits into that. And then in a moment, we'll get into some mental principles. Yeah, give us an idea here. I guess maybe the way to put it is how are the body and voice it seems like a silly question, but interconnected, maybe in ways that we might not think about?
Yeah, it's really interesting. When I started doing yoga, I mean, I've been doing yoga for years. I'm talking like 10, 15 years now. But when I really, really started to dive and delve into the anatomy of the voice and how it works and its functions, because I was teaching at really extensive and pro levels, and doing yoga at the same time, I could not believe the correlation between the physiology of the body and the way we sing. It is unbelievable. So if you think about it, if anybody here has ever done yoga, we root to rise. So which means that you push your feet to the ground in order to lift up into a mountain pose or standing up. And that's exactly what we do when we're singing. We're engaging the diaphragm. There's our root, and then we rise into resonance. So the way the body works is exactly how everything in life works. Again, I mentioned it earlier. Newton's law is every action has an opposite reaction. When you think of a plane taking off when you're going on a vacation or going somewhere on a plane, the plane goes at a really, really fast velocity at takeoff, and the pilot lifts the nose of the plane to catch air, and the air shoots down, and then the pressure of the air creates the plane to go up. Interesting. Every action has an opposite reaction. So the way the body is interconnected when you're singing is the same, the exact same. If you're not grounded, your body will not create the perfect balance of your voice. So if you have tight hips or tight legs, and even an unconditioned midsection, and you're trying to engage, you're not going to be able to get the same engagement as if you're being healthy and good to your body through exercise and the way we eat. So a healthy body equals a healthy voice, for sure, in all that way. I think the organs and the systems are not in balance when any of the bones and the muscles are not in balance either. So you have to take all of that into consideration. So, yeah.
So what about diet then? And again, I'm thinking this is something that we could probably spend an hour or hours on.
I could. I really, really could.
Yeah. Anecdotally then, how does diet play into, I guess, not just your voice, but also your, again, tying you back to the body, overall stamina, levels of fatigue, etc., and maybe any best practices for folks that are taking singing seriously?
Oh, for sure. So think about it. Your body needs nutrients, and if you're not feeding your body the nutrients it needs to be healthy, then why would it actually do something that you need it to do while you're singing? It will not. It will not oblige to what you want. So for instance, if you're used to eating junk food on a day-to-day basis, your body's going to be really sluggish, and it won't react to your diaphragm engaging as fast as it would be if you're eating healthy. You'll also feel really tired. Your blood levels are going to go off. You may have high cholesterol if you're eating like that. And holistically, you need to be able to feed your body the nutrients it needs to be at its optimal health. Eating, you think about it, I'm just going to excuse myself one more time. I'm going to have some water. Excuse me.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back. I'm quick. Sorry, Andrew, what were you going to say?
Oh, in the time I was going to say, John, I am really looking forward to putting your question to Teresa, because it's one that I'm curious about myself. But we'll get there momentarily.
Okay, good. The body and what to eat. So think about it. The diaphragm sits. It's a tissue between the respiratory system and the gastrointestinal system. So if your gut is unhealthy, then your diaphragm is there, and you like, so if you eat a huge meal before you sing, you're not going to be able to use your diaphragm properly. So that's really super important too. And at the same time, breathing. If you have like something like sleep apnea or asthma, that's going to affect your singing as well. There are different things that you can do holistically for asthma and sleep app and hyperventilation and that sort of thing. There are reduced breathing programs called Buteyko breathing. There are, I mean, you can do yoga and meditation. That all helps as well. Then there's the funky acid reflux that everybody at some point of their life has to go through, depending on what you eat. Sometimes it doesn't even depend on what you eat. Sometimes it could just be you going through a really stressful time. In this world and this day and age, it's really easy to become stressed. And stress, your brain and your gut are connected. And so the flora in your gut will, the bacteria in your gut will react to stress and create some acid reflux. Also eating deep fried foods, acidic foods, nightshade foods, inflammatory foods such as like eggplant, potatoes. Yes, potatoes. I know, I love potatoes. Tomatoes. I said eggplant, tomatoes, peppers. Those kind of foods create inflammation to the body. So anything high acid or deep fried will create an acid reflux. That acid reflux comes up through the esophagus and can sit into the larynx and create havoc on your vocal cords as well. So eating healthy and living a healthy life really, really is important for singing. And especially if you're doing this for a long period of time, you want to be healthy. And when I mean healthy body, healthy mind, healthy voice. So
healthy mind. Yeah, well, that's a great place to end as well.
okay.
Got a few points here. Healthy mind, healthy voice is fairly straightforward. And I will say too, just to avoid redundancy and to point you to some of Teresa's work, in that handout of vocal columns, part 1 and 2 of Teresa's piece, deal with how things like affirmation, the power of thought, weigh into performance. So I set the stage with that, but Teresa, please cap us off with connecting how mental can intertwine with the vocal.
Oh, it's insane. That's the reason I put it in the book. The book is a really easy read for those of you that are creative, which is all of us. I don't know about you, but I don't have time to sit here and read a book with 50 chapters in it. This is awesome. If you're on a road trip for half hour, 40 minutes, or you've got half an hour to work with, you can read this book from front to back. But there was one thing I didn't want to miss, and that was the mind, putting the mind thing in there. And the reason is because it's affected my life. I've had mental issues all my life. My serotonin levels are off. I've had 3 kids, had postpartum psychosis, where I was in and out of hospitals because of some psychosis issues and due to my hormone imbalance. While at the same time was singing in a band at the time. The mind is a powerful thing. I just do want to say, just for formalities, I am not a mental health professional, but I've been through enough. I've been through quite a bit of mental issues that I can actually speak to them on my own personal accounts. About 4 years ago, my dad passed away of cancer, and he was 61. And after losing 5 people there were 5 immediate family members within 3 years. And then 2 years later, dealing with my husband having cancer, it became really, really difficult for me to be positive in certain circumstances. And I went and got help and learned a ton. The meditation and yoga helped a great deal. And I mean, all of that stuff happened to me over and above life. I have 3 kids. I run a business. I travel all over North America and US. Everyone has their burdens and their busy lives. But we have to understand and always center back at the fact that we have control over our thoughts. And what we think, what we focus on expands. And therefore, if you're in this negative rut, you can actually come out of it. You have the power to come out of it. It is the choice to use the power that you have. And it's hard. I cannot tell you that. I can't sit here. I would be lying to you. And if I just sat here and told you, oh yeah, no problem, you can just choose it, and it's all good. It's not easy. It is hard. It'll take some breakdowns. It'll take some tears. It'll take some fear. And just know that, repetitiveness and persistence and determination of those positive thoughts. And I'm going to give you an example and how to do that, because the music industry, it's cutthroat and it is a really difficult place to be. It's saturated at the moment. Really, really talented people making it out there, but really you don't have to have the talent in order to make it. We are living in a digital world, and that's above us as well. A lot of relationships have to be made, and then sometimes those relationships aren't genuine, and we have to deal with that. A lot of empty promises that don't end up being panned out or given. Sometimes we overthink things and think things are bigger than they actually are. All of these things are always affecting us as musicians. And then you have to think of the creative side of that too. So really balancing everything is so difficult. So let me just take an example and show you what I mean by being repetitive and determined and persistent on your thoughts. This is actually, you know what? Let's do an exercise first. Just a mind exercise, if that's okay. Andrew, can I do a mind exercise?
I am ready.
Okay, everybody ready? So I want you guys to look around your space, anywhere you are, and I want you to pinpoint anything that's blue. Be really specific. Anything blue. Just try to remember as much as you can look at. Just take the seconds to look around and pick everything that's blue. Make a mental list. Now what I want you to do is shut your eyes and think of something in your room that's yellow. All you're seeing is blue right now because that's what you were focusing on. Trying to think of what is yellow in your room is kind of like you're going to pull out your hair. So do you see how what you focus on is what you're going to expand? If you ever wanted like a particular car or a particular dog, and that's all you can think about, and then that's all you see in the real world, it's like, oh my God, that person has a dog that I want, or hey, I've just seen 5 Land Rovers, when you've never actually noticed them before. So when you're actually focusing on one thing, that thought expands. So if you think, let's just say, and this is an easy one, and people don't talk about this, and it happens. Let's think of the word jealousy. Jealousy is a very negative emotion, and there's a lot of jealousy in the music industry, a lot of envy. Sometimes it's not unhealthy, but it is a negative emotion. So if we think of the word jealousy, what we want to do is we want to acknowledge the fact that that's what you're feeling, whether it's jealousy or whether it's anger or whether it's fear. Acknowledge that emotion that you feel. What you can do is you can consciously choose the opposite of that emotion. So if it's jealousy, what we want confidence or calm. And we can replace the jealousy with confident and calm. So if it's a particular subject that you're talking about, whether you're jealous of somebody else getting like a deal, a recording deal, or somebody working with somebody, well, what you can do is replace that jealousy with, I love to replace jealousy with the word proud. Because if you're proud of that person, that emotion that you're holding is going to come back at you. So you're going to be proud for somebody else, and you're going to allow your life to have things that you're proud of as well. And remember, what you focus on expands. So what you do is the opposite, and then you hold on to that. So you can either breathe it in, you can write affirmations. Really, really cool. Rocking Vibe has a line. Rocking Vibe is, I love stones. They have bracelets and really cool. You can probably make them yourself too. But stone bracelet or a beaded bracelet, and then just put one big bead in the middle of that bracelet and put it on. And when your mind veers off of that positive intention or the positive word that you want to replace the negative word with, always go to that bead and just remind yourself that that's what you want to focus on. You can do different things to do that, but I cannot stress to you enough how important this is to create that positivity in the mind. When you do that, you'll release tension from your voice. You will write amazing music. You will feel good about everything, because the energy you sit in will be attracted to you, and that's what you'll get. So your mind is a very powerful thing, and your voice is controlled by your mind. So you want it to be healthy.
Teresa, thank you.
Hope that wasn't too complicated. I just got really deep there, but.
Oh, I'm with you. So I've got to think that our esteemed attendees would be able to follow too.
Great.
Yeah, so I guess jump into kind of a grab bag of questions here.
Sure.
Get them in now if you've got anything you want to ask. I think we should be able to get these in front of Teresa.
Sure.
Yeah, so John's question, my voice doesn't seem to have a natural vibrato. Am I doing something wrong? Okay, so yeah.
Okay.
And I love this one. Should I fake to add some vibrato? Which
No, fake vibrato is tension. Fake vibrato is manipulation of muscles. So no, absolutely not. I call it the oh my gosh, what was the word I made up for it? It's something about a turkey, because you know how they gobble. They do that. Oh my god. Vibrato is again a defense mechanism by the diaphragm that undulates the notes between semitones. So in order for you to create a natural vibrato, you have to be connected. That beautiful vortex between the south and the north, the connection between breath and resonance has to be there. Vertical connection creates beautiful diaphragmic vibrato. The diaphragm creates vibrato to protect the vocal cords. True story. So yes, work on north and south. Work on connecting the diaphragm into the resonance, and you will start to create that beautiful natural vibrato.
All right. Should you be singing with a sore throat? Also, straining your voice, singing in keys that you don't feel comfortable with. Maybe in addition to the answer, you can give us an idea as to what the results of these things could be.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I was laughing when you were asking me that, because I have sore throat and I have rehearsal tonight and a huge gig tomorrow night. So should you be singing with a sore throat? No, you shouldn't. And the truth in the matter is we have to be realistic. I'm contracted to sing tomorrow. I am singing with a sore throat. So you have to help your body out as much as you can. I've been using St. Francis's Herb Farm Stop It Cold throat spray, which is like a holistic spray that I can spray at the back of my throat and it'll help. I've also used colloidal silver, which is the holistic antibiotic. I've rested for the majority of the day. I can sing through my sickness. Should you sing with a sore throat? The right and correct answer is no. The realistic answer is be kind to yourself and support your voice in any way you possibly can, even though you have to sing, and rest it afterwards. Second part of that question, Andrew, was?
Should I, if I'm singing material that's out of my key, am I doing myself a service trying to? Yeah.
Disservice, yes. Please, 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 individuals that are listening, make sure your material is in the correct key for your voice. You're going to strain if you're unable to sing the high notes and the low notes. It's so simple, especially when you're playing with musicians. Change the keys, get comfortable, throw your egos away, and just, nobody will notice. People will remember that singing is a communication. So if you're communicating to your audience, I mean, you're playing for yourself, yes, but ultimately you want to have some sort of form of communication and connection to audience and somebody that's listening. You want them to buy your music. You want them to be your fan. You want them to communicate with you. You want them to be relatable to you. And therefore, if you are not feeling confident about your singing because it's too high or too low, your audience is going to feel that. They're going to want you to sing it in the comfortable register that you're comfortable, like that you're able to sing in. You can work towards it, but don't, no, absolutely not. So make sure it's the right key for you, for sure.
Right.
And if you don't, it's going to create vocal issues. So you asked me to add on to that at the end. If you do sing out of your range, you're going to create tension and you're going to hurt your voice. Yeah.
From that to something nice and easy. Always hear about hydration. Is there such a thing as too much water, particularly before performance?
No. It is a big myth. People say to me all the time, Teresa, you drink so much water, that can't be healthy. It's like, wait a second, my body is meant to eliminate toxins and waste, and I need water to do so. And I have to stay hydrated. Guys, I sing 50 to 60 hours a week, especially when I'm teaching. I'm teaching 40 hours a week. Then I'm playing another 8 to 10 hours. That's a lot of singing. By the way, did I mention I'm a mom? I yell at my kids. I'm normal. You have to stay hydrated. Water will eliminate accordingly. Now, the reason I say to drink warm water or lukewarm water, even hot water, I'm a hot water drinker. That's what I drink. The reason I say that is not because they touch your vocal cords and they'll soothe them, because nothing you drink touches your vocal cords. At least I hope so. Hope not, because if you drink something and it touches your vocal cords, you are going to drown, because nothing should be touching your vocal cords. No food, no drink, or you will choke. Everything you drink and ingest goes into your esophagus. So your body absorbs water, absorbs nutrients. And so drinking the warm water, your body will work less hard to absorb the water. If it's cold, your body has to work harder to absorb it. And that's why I say to drink room temperature to hot. Absolutely not. You're not going to overdrink, because your body knows, like, sometimes he's like, okay, I can't drink anymore. But as long as there's a restroom around, you keep drinking, girl and boy.
Awesome. We will cap it here. If anyone else has anything else, you can hit me up and I will relay to Teresa, aking@nor.com. But yeah, last one here is, when I try and hit higher notes that require a shout-like sound, my voice wants to switch into head voice and go softer. Any tips on how I can hit those notes?
Yeah, during this webinar, did I not mention that the body is a defense mechanism? So so your body, you thank it right now, because it is protecting your cords. So what happens is, if you go into a belt and your muscles, remember that your muscles have, or all the tissue around in the larynx area in your throat, they have to be at rest. That tells me that there's some sort of tension in your throat, around the vocal cords, that's creating too much tension in the cords itself. So what happens is, you start to shout, you can't contain. So this one gets a little more complicated. Chest voice and head voice, really, they are complicated things. The way your body works, the way your vocal cords work, is that it's kind of like on a hinge. So something has to stretch and something has to release. And there's two sets of muscles around the vocal cords that stretch and release the vocal cords. So if you're stretching the cords because you're hitting a high note, and they can't stretch anymore, because if they stretch anymore, something's going to snap, you're going to want your body to go into head voice. The reason it can't stretch anymore is because the muscles around it, it's too tight, and it won't stretch comfortably. So what you need to do is release the tension ultimately. And if you're going to a vocal coach or somebody that's a professional vocal coach, they should hear that instantly and they should be able to correct that, for sure. It's just conditioning. But yes, thank your body for going into head voice.
Right on. Gratitude for the body, gratitude for you, Teresa. Thank you so much for taking time to share. Wow, yeah, total slew of great tips.
I know a lot. It's quite a bit. Thank you for having me, Andrew. This is what I love to do. I love to share my knowledge about the voice to anybody, and I'm addicted to it, so I love to share it. And thank you for having me.
Oh, the pleasure is ours. You heard it here several times, but there it is, the Vocal Compass. Musicbooksplus.com/webinars is where you can go to get your 10% off, or, well, there you go, use the coupon code webinars. Vocal Compass is there front and center. Remember that the recording will be going out about 24 hours after this to your inbox, so feel free to revisit, share it around, whatever you would like. We will be drawing for the signed copy of the Vocal Compass tomorrow. And yeah, we'll hit somebody up with some great news, so stay tuned for that. There we have it. Teresa, thank you again. I'll let you get to rehearsal here. Big show tomorrow.
My pleasure.
Yeah. What about websites, whether it's Studio E, the book, your music, your direct people?
So yeah, my website is teresacirillo.com, and I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram and Twitter as at Teresa A. Cirillo. There's 2 A's in there. And Facebook's just Teresa Cirillo. Add me, and you can ask me any questions there as well. I'm open to all of that. I love helping, so for sure.
Awesome. Yes, thank you everyone for joining us. NWCwebinars.com. You can check out our next couple of sessions taking us through the end of the year. The next one, actually, we've got Alexandra Golden from the Juno Awards joining us, and we're going to walk you through step by step how nominations, how you submit, how nominations and awards are decided, and ultimately the goal is to help you better prepare your application. And it's not just the big name artists that win Junos. So yeah, join us for this one if you've got anything that you think might be considerable for the nation's highest. Okay, I'm just getting grandiose here. Join us for that one. NWCwebinars.com. Thank you, everybody. We're signing off. Cheers to a great evening.